Take it from the guy who went back and watched all of these turnovers again. This is something that's very avoidable, and it's something that if they just cut down on these dumb turnovers that lead to easy pick sixes, suddenly their defense looks a lot better as a result too.
Next up, stat number 4. Not good times.
No.
Really bad times. Cutting down on the turnovers, you guys.
So I haven't told you guys this. Everybody knows I went back and with 10 games left in the season, I watched all of the Suns turnovers to that point, rewatched them, categorized them, wrote a couple thousand words on them. I went back the other day and rewatched the turnovers from the last 10 games, categorized those as well. So I have final season numbers for you all now. So of the 1,156 player turnovers that are on the NBA website, 115 of them were what I categorize as sloppy, lazy, completely unavoidable passes. That's about 10% of all of their turnovers. 118 were bad passes that they threw right to a defender with an outstretched hand in the passing lane. That's about 10%. And 96 were the result of miscommunication errors where a guy thought his teammate was going to cut and he popped instead, or vice versa, and they basically threw the ball out of bounds or to the other team. That's about 8%. So basically nearly 30% of Phoenix's turnovers were self-inflicted wounds, shooting yourself in the foot, completely avoidable mistakes. And a lot of these, because a lot of people are going to say, well, see, this is proof they need a point guard. A lot of these were mistakes that they would make in situations where, whether you have a point guard or not, the big three are going to have the ball in those situations. Nurk is going to have the ball in those situations. It's not a point guard thing. It's a being more careful and not being careless thing. It's a taking care of the ball, and it's functioning in pick and rolls and all these types of situations and building chemistry. So the hope is that with a year of continuity, there'll be a lot less of those miscommunication mishaps. There's going to be a lot less sloppy passes, because that was just something that was so strange to see players of Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Jusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen's caliber just throw these lazy, errant passes. If they can cut down on even half of these things, they're a top 10 team in terms of taking care of the ball. And we all know that Monty Morris and Tyus Jones are going to really help in that respect, because they're assist to turnover gods. But like, this is something that those guys have to be better. When Kevin Durant gets blitzed, he's got to be better with reading that and getting off the ball. Same with Devin Booker, same with Bradley Beal to a same effect. So take it from the guy who went back and watched all of these turnovers again. This is something that's very avoidable, and it's something that if they just cut down on these dumb turnovers that lead to easy pick sixes, suddenly their defense looks a lot better as a result too.
Yeah, and again, I keep harping on system, but that'll play a part in less turnovers if you know where that guy's going to be, right? You can trust that because the system is understood by each player and it's believed in by these players, that they'll be where they need to be. That'll cut it down. Obviously, like you mentioned, the point guards aren't the only, not having a point guard wasn't the only reason that turnovers happen, but it will help to have two assist to turnover ratio gods on the court as well, which will mean at certain times you won't have the ball in one of those other guys' hands that maybe made some of those mistakes. So again, this is a combination of things that will solve it for the Suns, but this is the one I probably feel most confident in that won't be the issue again this year.
Well, I would hope so, because if you look at this realistically, like you said, when you broke it into the 3 categories, equals about 30% of their turnovers. Miscommunication, just under 9%, right? 8.3% miscommunication. In theory, now that you've had a year under your belt, you get a little more chemistry and continuity, those 2 lovely words we love to throw around. You could reduce that by half.
Yeah.
And then the sloppy, lazy passes, 10%. You could also reduce that by half simply by not being sloppy and lazy.
Right.
And there you go. Like, that already reduces your percentage from 30 to 20. And then you can add on another 5% somewhere else. And now we're at half.
Yeah.
Like, it should be so simple in theory, right?
On paper.
It should be so simple.
Right. On paper, it should be. I think the continuity is going to help. I think having the ball in the hands of a true point guard is going to help as well. But you also just need the big 3 to take better care of the ball. Because like I said, and the chat is still having a problem accepting this, they're going to be put in these situations because you want your best players to have the ball. Kevin Durant's still going to run pick and rolls. Devin Booker's still going to do that as well because they're good in those spots. But you can't have them turning the ball over when they get blitzed. And guess what? Defenses are going to blitz them in those spots. So a lot of these actions that you're having a point guard initiate to make their life easier are still some of the same actions that they were running last year. Like they've just got to be better with the ball in their hands wherever they're getting the ball.
Well, you need fewer minutes lost to injury too, because when you have multiple different lineups that are going in and out too, like we talked about, that continuity, it makes it tougher because you may have a guy in there that isn't usually in your rotation, that doesn't do exactly what you expect, that leads to a turnover or a communication issue because you're just not used to having those 5 guys on the floor together as well. So injury, losing minutes due to injury is going to have to be something that's cut down dramatically, I think, as well to help this number.
We all silly like the mayor.